A certain blue hedgehog turns 24 on the 23rd this month, so I thought I'd revisit the games that started his career. Throughout the month I'll be reviewing the trilogy of classic Sonic games, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Sonic 3, and Knuckles. Without further ado, let's take a look at the game that created a gaming icon. The Blue Blur has certainly had its fair share of ups and downs in recent years, but it wasn't always like that. Back in the early 90s, Sonic was the first character to really steal Mario's spotlight, which was no easy task. Nintendo dominated the video game market at the time. But against all odds, Sega whipped up a game that would change the gaming industry and spark the most heated rivalry in gaming history. And that game was Sonic the Hedgehog. The name of the game is high-speed platforming. It's your job to take control of Sonic and guide him to the end of each zone. Why? Because a mustachioed madman is kidnapping Sonic's animal friends and turning them into robots. A man by the name of Dr. Robotnik to us in the West, and Dr. Eggman to those in the East. Robotnik's always sounded more intimidating and cooler to me, but my love of puns has warmed me up to Eggman.
Time to crack that Eggman wide open!
Last one to the bottom is a rotten Eggman!
Time to scramble some Eggman, Super Sonic style!
Let's talk about the controls. On the Genesis controller, you've got 3 face buttons, A, B, and C, and they all do the same thing, make Sonic spin jump. Much like the Jumpman, Sonic can take out enemies by jumping and bopping them on the heads. But Sonic can also tuck into a ball and buzzsaw his way through badniks. You do this by pressing down on the D-pad while you're running or on a slope. This is also a great way to get momentum going. Sonic's main selling point was his super speed. You can hold the D-pad left or right to make Sonic blast off at a moderate speed. Yeah, they claim that Sonic can run at the speed of sound, but when comparing his running speed to Mario's, it's pretty obvious that the plumber could run circles around Sonic. Unless you bump into a horizontal spring and don't touch the D-pad. Sonic 1 has this weird speed cap that cancels tons of momentum you get from being propelled forward as soon as you press right or left on the D-pad. I guess they were afraid kids would get motion sickness or something. But despite all that, Sonic still feels much faster than Mario. Why is that? Well, looking back at the Super Mario games that were out before 1991, the levels were very, very blocky. Squares aplenty. However, Sonic stages were curved and fluid. In the first stage, Green Hill Zone in particular, you're constantly moving up and down slopes and hills, running through shuttle loops, and rolling through twists and turns and mountains. Even though you're only moving at a moderate speed, you still feel like you're building more and more momentum. Those iconic green hills are the environmental equivalent of a roller coaster. The springs are a major factor too. You could inch toward a spring as slowly as possible, but the second you touch it, Sonic blasts off at his maximum speed. Which is still only moderate if you're pressing right or left on the D-pad, but you still go from 0 to 60 in less than a heartbeat. It also helps that Sonic has no speed cap when he's rolling. While he's technically not running at the speed of sound, he's still moving at breakneck speeds. The environment has to be set up for that though, a steep hill or a series of shuttle loops. And that's when the excitement really kicks in. These bursts of hypersonic speed are usually only a few seconds long, but during those few seconds you feel exhilarated. Look at him go, that's so cool! If your reaction was like that, what do you think you would do next? You'd probably go running in search of the next stretch of land that will let you zoom like that again. Now, one could argue that that actually works towards the game's detriment. Some people might get annoyed that the game decides when they can and can't be fast. That's when I'd refer them to Sonic 2, but we're not there yet. But the people who would make that argument probably would be people who have been gamers for a while. People who know a thing or two about game design. But Sonic was targeted toward young kids, possibly as someone's first video game. Structuring the game the way they did was the perfect way to draw that crowd in, to encourage them to explore and play the game as much as they could. And if they did explore, they were treated with goodies like extra lives, shields, invincibility, and most importantly, rings. Looking back, the concept behind Sonic's rings is pretty odd. There are thousands of these little golden trinkets to collect throughout the game, but you only ever need one at a time. As long as you have at least one ring, you can take a hit without dying. So why bother collecting more than one? I mean, other than the gamer instinct of, ooh, shiny, must collect. Here's why. Those skillful enough to hang on to at least 50 rings until the end of the act are rewarded with a giant ring. Ooh, shiny, must collect! But you can't collect it, it's actually a warp ring. And where does it warp you to? This acid trip of a special zone. You get no warning, no way to run. You're simply forced to roll through a rotating maze. And what do you do then? You accidentally exit the stage because these levels are really hard and those goal signs are misleading. And that confuses you to no end. What was the point of that? Was it just to get points? No, there's gotta be something else. I've gotta try it again. And with that, you're driven to explore the game even more, searching every nook and cranny for rings and power-ups to help you keep those rings until you pass that goalpost. And when you finally navigate that strange maze successfully, you're awarded with a Chaos Emerald, a gem containing the ultimate power. I mean, in this game you just use them to get the best ending, but hey, they look pretty. There are 6 in all and over a dozen opportunities to get them, but oh man, you would better start collecting early because there is a slim chance you'll be able to hold on to 50 rings in the later zones. Let's do a quick rundown of the zones, shall we? Green Hill Zone. As I've said, an iconic roller coaster of a level. It's a perfect stage to get you used to Sonic's controls. Marble Zone. An admittedly tedious and slow level. It feels like it was ripped right out of a Mario game with all the blocks and lava. Spring Yard Zone. Back to speed and rolling around at the speed of hope. I wish I could cope, Sonic, but it's getting harder and harder. Labyrinth Zone. Love the music, hate the stage. It's 90% water, which slows Sonic's movement by a lot. It's just very cumbersome to go through. Starlight Zone. A roller coaster of a level that actually looks a bit like a roller coaster. Scrap Brain Zone. No, really, I don't need any rings. Please, take them all. Somehow, miraculously, I was able to finish Act 1 of Scrap Brain Zone with over 50 rings and 5 Chaos Emeralds. Meaning I just need one more. Where's the warp ring? Do I have 50? Yes, I have 56. It should be here. Where? What? No. Hold on. Really? It's literally impossible to get a Chaos Emerald in Scrap Brain Zone. Why? I managed to keep over 50 rings in the hardest zone of the game. Why can't I enter the special zone? I got nothing for this one. That is all kinds of wrong. And after that, we've got Final Zone, which just houses the final battle against Dr. Robotnik. I say final as loosely as possible here. After the battle, we can give Robotnik one last bop to the head, and then it's back to Green Hill Zone to celebrate with our animal buddies. Sonic the Hedgehog left a huge impression. Not only was the game itself brilliantly designed and fun to play, but Sonic as a character was also unique. He wasn't your typical overly happy anthropomorphic animal mascot. The dude had an attitude. If you put that controller down for a bit, he's not going to just stare ahead blankly and wait for you to pick it back up. No, he's going to give you an annoyed look and impatiently tap his foot. The gameplay, the music, the sass, everything about Sonic was memorable and fun. And he kept that forward momentum going for quite a few years. With that said, I'll see you next time to take a look at the sequel, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.